Gambling for me started in high school, late night poker games with my buddies, and I was always the kid at the poker table who never left. I was the one saying just, one more hand, because I was always in so deep I didn't know how to get out. Later on in life, more money became available to me. Money is kind of your drug when you're gambling, and I had a lot more options for drugs. I was given two options, go back to my mom and dad's house or go to a shelter. I had one last asset that I could sell, which was a country club membership. I was going to take that money and come to Vegas and win everything back and pay everybody back, or I was going to kill myself.
I am probably the last person you'd expect to be a pastor, but I didn't fit into any church I could find, so we started one. A church for the rest of us, right in the heart of Sin City.
In the movie The Princess Bride, the dread pirate Robert says to Princess Buttercup, "Life is pain, princess. If anyone tells you different, they're trying to sell you something." And it's true, we all experience pain. Now, sometimes our hurt, our pain is caused by other people, like my father. My father spent most of his life hurting other people. In fact, he spent most of his adult life in prison for it. In fact, he ended up on America's Most Wanted for it. That's right, my father was on America's Most Wanted, so I've got that going for me. And it wasn't just people out there, it was also my family. My father was very abusive to my mother and to me, and I suffered at the hands of his abuse. My childhood was affected because of it, but it wasn't just my childhood. My dad walked out on us when I was 11 and never came back. And I have continued as an adult to struggle with the consequences of his abuse and with his leaving.
Hi, I'm Donnie, father by day, bouncer by night. I'm a bouncer here in Las Vegas at some of the hottest nightclubs in town. I had a pretty rough background, Mom and dad was on drugs, When I was a kid, I seen people get shot. I've seen people walk by me with guns like it's nothing. I grew up in gang-infested neighborhoods. To be truthful with you, I don't even know how I'm here today. Haven't seen my mom since I was about, say, 5.5. Just being with my mom was a pretty rough time, I still remember days where we would get up and we'd go around dumpster to dumpster, getting cans and scoop up a little money to feed me.
Hey.
What's up?
What's going on? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right.
What's wrong? What's up?
Nah, man. Remember that stuff I was telling you about my mom?
Yeah.
Well, long story short, my cousin found out where she lived.
Really? So you know where she's at?
It's sad, some of the things I see you should never have to see as a kid. I witnessed my mom do drugs in front of me. I witnessed my mom have sex in front of me. I remember one time, for example, I'm probably 4.5 or something at the time. And I remember they had me sit in the corner. Next thing you know, it was my mom with two gentlemen right there in the motel room right in front of me. Yeah, I know where she lived, but I don't know, man. It's been more than 24 years, man. My mom walked in this room, I don't even know what she looked like.
Right. Man, I hurt for Donnie. I mean, I went through a rough childhood, but I can't even imagine what he had to go through.
She was like,
Wow. What are you gonna do with that?
Honestly, I don't know, man. I'll catch you later.
You gotta go?
Yeah,
Okay.
I gotta go.
All right, man, I'll pray for you. Let me know if you want to talk.
Thanks, man.
Hello? Oh, hey, Scott.
Sometimes the pain we go through in life is caused by other people. But here's the truth, and you know this. Some of our hurts we experience are self-inflicted, right? Where we have no one to blame but ourselves. We make wrong choices, and they lead to pain, right? You make the wrong choice, and you're going to suffer. The only question really is, when? You know, it's kind of like taking your hands off the steering wheel. You may crash sooner, you may crash later, but eventually you're going to crash. And when you make wrong choices, you may suffer sooner, you may suffer later. It may not happen immediately, but eventually you're gonna hurt. The funny thing is that often we don't see it, right? We don't see where our own choices are leading us. Now, anyone else, if they looked at our life, they would see exactly where this path is gonna take us. You know, they would look at our decisions and say, in the immortal words of Clubber Lang in Rocky III, my prediction, pain.
So Scott was a guy who was a believer, went to church, but developed a gambling addiction, which, I mean, it stinks. You'd hope that that wouldn't happen for a Christian, but I guess every Christian has their weaknesses, and sometimes we fall down, and Scott did in a big way.
When there was a conference in Las Vegas or there was something that had to do with this city, I always come out here and always lose every dime that I brought with me and then some. Then do whatever I had to do to come back as quickly as I could to try to win it back. I need the one big hit. You know, I need the one time that I'll make $1 million or $2 million, and then I'm done forever. Everybody in my life got fed up with me. Everything had caught up with me, and you know, all the lies and things that I was telling people to borrow money, it started to come out. Pretty much the rug pulled out from underneath me, and everything was exposed. My wife at the time couldn't deal with, you know, the fallout and decided to go through with the divorce. And I became just a guy that nobody wanted to be around, nobody wanted to touch.
Either way, whether we're hurt by someone else or it's self-inflicted, it often causes us to question God, doesn't it? We wonder if God is really for us. Does he know what's happening? Does he care?
Some popsicles.
Thanks. I want to have the bubble.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
My hug, Zach, guys. Mwah. Go ahead, guys. Go hang out, okay? Don't get it all over the walls or carpet, nothing crazy, okay? Go ahead, guys.
What's wrong?
This whole situation with my mom, knowing where she's at now and everything. It's kind of like all the stuff I've been through in my life is like, why of all people did God like choose me to go through it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you're a strong person, and I do think it made you a stronger man, so maybe he wanted you, it just helped you to become a better father to your kids, a better husband. You've never went down the path that your mother did. Maybe he had different plans for you just to make you a stronger human being.
I think someone's feeling my pain today. Honestly, I never thought about it from that point of view, but that's the thing. It's just like, I've done well without her, so like, why do I need her now? Not to, you know, not to be mean about it, but that's kind of like how, you know, my feelings towards the whole situation. So I would like my kids to meet their grandmother, get to know her, and trying to start a relationship, but then part of me kind of just say, I mean, I did fine, I made it here without her, like, just leave it alone. Because I know how I am, I know how my heart is, I will regret it if I don't do it, but honestly, at the same time, I really don't want to do it, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. What do you think I should do?
I don't know.
What do you think I should do, Serenity, huh? What do you think I should do? You want to meet your grandma, huh? She's like, whatever, I'm playing with this strap. You want to meet grandma?
No, dude, like, this is gonna be fun. Seriously. All right. Yeah, just call me back in the next day or two whenever you want. Cool, man. All right, see ya. Bye.
What's going on?
So, this is fun. You know Scott?
Yeah, Scott, recovering from the gambling addiction.
Gambling, right. So this weekend he gets this call. He's talking to his friend who went through recovery with him, and he just kind of discerns something's wrong. And so he says, man, are you back gambling again? The guy is. And so Scott spends like the whole weekend like loving on him, ministering to him, talking to his wife, and has this awakening where he's like, this is what I'm good at. This is what I want to do with my life. Like, I can use my hurt to help other people. I'm good at it. So he's thinking like that maybe he could become a professional speaker, speak at like colleges, warn kids of the dangers of gambling, help people who have addictions.
Cool.
Yeah.
You should connect him with Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, he travels the world speaking, teaching. I mean, that'd be a great connection for Scott.
Yes, we have a professional speaker in our church,
Yes,
and
we
I didn't
do.
think of that.
Yes.
I've got problems. That's
Yes, you
awesome.
do.
I'm going to call him back and tell him that, because that is perfect.
The truth is, God knows. He knows what you're going through, and he cares. And not only that, he wants to use what you've gone through to help you write a beautiful story with your life. He wants to redeem the pain you've gone through. There's a great promise that God gives us in the book called Romans in the Bible, chapter 8, verse 28. It says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. It says all things, even our pain. There's a story in the Old Testament of the Bible about a guy named Joseph. And Joseph was a guy who went through an unusual amount of pain. His brothers kind of cast him off and sold him into slavery. And you thought your family was bad. You know, you've been saying, my family was dysfunctional. Not that bad, right? And not only that, but he ends up getting imprisoned under false accusations. A lot of pain. And I'm sure that Joseph must have wondered, does God know what's going on in my life? You know, does he care about what I'm going through? But it's interesting, throughout his story, there's this refrain. Over and over it says, God was with Joseph. When he was rejected by his brothers, when he was in slavery, when he was in prison, God was with Joseph. Though he seemed absent, God was with Joseph. And God redeemed Joseph's pain. It turned out that God was writing a sometimes painful but beautiful story with Joseph's life. And he took all those things that Joseph went through and put him in a position where he could save his family and where he ended up saving an entire race of people. A race of people who eventually ended up bringing Jesus to the world. Jesus who, when he came into the world, was hurt, but saw all of his pain redeemed. And in fact, redeemed us through his pain.
So I was able to talk to my friend, and I was able to help him and his family.
Right.
And, you know, at that moment, I kind of went, wow, man, I want to do this more.
Right.
And I thought, you know, I should get into public speaking. I mean, crazy
Sure.
idea. I've never done anything like that. I don't fancy myself, you know, anybody that somebody would want to listen to, but I just had this gnawing feeling that I needed to do it. And I called Vince. I said, hey, what do you think about this? And he said, you know, our church is a hub for national speakers, oddly enough.
Yep, we sure
and he said, you need to come in and meet with Mike. So here we are.
Cool. So what you said to this person had an effect on them, right? It changed them, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I hear, and see what you think about this. First of all, as far as being a speaker, you've got the story. Because you've been through it, you've been through the depths of it, and you've come out of it. So people will want to know how you did that because they want the same thing. So that's the first part. From there, what we need to do is craft how you say what you say, because speaking is a skill just like anything else. So, man, let's get started.
Okay, cool, great.
Cool.
Starting out, I thought my biggest problem in ministry would be my family background. I just didn't have the right pedigree to become a pastor. Instead of coming from like a good Christian family, I came from a dysfunctional family with an abusive father. But it turns out that what I thought was going to be my greatest weakness has become maybe my greatest strength, because it's allowed so many people to relate to me and to my story. Like there's this one time I shared in a sermon my earliest childhood memory I think I was 5 years old, maybe. I was asleep upstairs. I heard screaming downstairs. I went running down, and I saw my father in my mother's face, and I was afraid. And so I ran up, and I grabbed his leg and tried to pull him away from her, and I couldn't. But I think he just got embarrassed, so he kind of kicked me off of him into the corner, and he looked around, and he saw my mom's prized possession. My mom's mother died when my mom was in college, and she left her one thing. She left her the family piano that she had grown up playing, and my father saw that, went over, ripped off the piece that holds up the music, threw it at my mom, stormed out of the house. My mother collapses to the floor. She's crying. I crawled over and held her and tried to console her, and I told that story. And we had a lady who attended our church every week. She's probably 25 years old, 2 little kids. And she had a husband who was not a Christian. And she begged him every week to come, but he'd show up maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Well, he happened to be there that particular Sunday. And on their way out, he turned to her and said, "All right, I'll come every week now." She was like, "What? Why?" And he said, "I had no idea that Vince's father was like that. I can listen to him now. He can speak to me." Turns out that his father was abusive. See, I think God wants you to share your pain so that he can redeem your pain. And honestly, having our pain redeemed can sometimes be a painful process. But when we give our hurts to God, he can bring healing, and he can turn our misery into a ministry.
Big moment. It's been more than 24 years since I seen my mom. Yeah, my Aunt Jean's supposed to be bringing her up from California, so gosh, man, I don't know if I've ever been this nervous, you know? It's kind of like I don't know what to say, you know?
This life is proof that stories involving addiction don't have anything in rock.
Crazy, like me and my wife, we like sent her pictures and everything. You know, like we wrote her a letter. You know, like I wrote her a letter saying, you know, that you know, I forgive her for everything. Like we sent her family pictures and stuff like that. Kind of crazy because now we got one more added to the family now, but you know, it's just, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Scott Brymer.
I'm not sure I perspired as much in a couple-minute period as I did leading up to walking up to the podium. So when I was in Arizona at rehab, I had one asset left that I owned that I could liquidate and turn into cash. And I had a country club membership that I owned. I felt like I was doing a horrible job and not connecting with anybody. But at one particular point, I felt a real connection. I had made the decision that I was going to take all of that money and I was going to come here to Las Vegas, and I was going to win the millions of dollars that I had lost back, or I was going to kill myself. Win all my money back or die. Fortunately, the sale didn't go through. The guy who was trying to buy it from me got wise to what I was doing and stopped the transaction. So from there, I had my sister and my dad sell a car, kind of clean out their savings account, ended up getting me into a different rehab facility in Baltimore, and it really just changed my life. I had to ask myself, do I want to live or die? And I decided I wanted to live.
Hello? Yeah, really? Yeah, that's all right. She ain't coming. Story of my life. I don't resent her, you know, I don't hold a grudge against her, you know, I mean, I don't regret trying to meet or anything. I mean, I think, you know, it is what it is. You know, I still have my family, still got my wife, my kids, still have Verve, you know.
I don't know how they convinced me not to do it, but after I felt a connection with some of the folks in the audience, it just felt like I'd been doing it all my life.
My friends are like family, so I'm surrounded by a great support group, you know, so, I mean, I hold no ill will against my mom, and if in the future, if we ever do reunite, hey, I'm always open to it, you know.